Hey guys, let's say bringing you another video. Welcome to my patch note video. So this is officially coming out after the patch. The reason being is obviously I uploaded 2 mega videos right at the end of last split that were all the games. And the good news, if you didn't watch those, just to say the ranked reset hasn't happened yet. We finished Diamond 2. We actually did get Diamond 2, so I'm pretty happy about that. We're actually half an hour of me recording this. We're half an hour until the new season begins, so we've got perfect time to do this patch note video. I'm live streaming at the moment. So yeah, we got half an hour to do this patch note video, and yes, I'll be going into rank straight away. If you have already watched my first video today, again, weird how time works, but that will be placement game number 1. But anyway, it is a very big patch note, and obviously I'm not going to cover everything in detail. Like, this covers all the Void stuff. I've made separate videos specifically about that, so we'll touch upon them very briefly, but that's about what we'll do. So the only champion that's receiving a buff is Hawaii, and obviously we're getting a lot of system changes and the item update. Obviously, mythics are no more, thank God. So ranked is starting by the time this video comes out. It's happening. It's happened. Last split, if you obviously either got gold and above or you got enough ranked games, if you're below gold, you will all be getting Victorious Tryndamere in the next few months. So yeah, the first thing, big gameplay change that would be was happened is the Void changes. So these are really good, by the way. I like these. So arguably they should have probably in this patch note spoken about the map changes first, because basically the map changes are in relation to the Void changes that so many people already are reacting to. Bot lane is stupidly easy to gank. Top lane mid are hard to gank. So is bot lane going to just be awful? Well, bot lane historically in the last year or two, and I don't think it's going to change massively, is very important. And that also has obviously the dragon control. Normally, whichever bot lane's winning tends to give dragon control. These Void grubs, and that's why I'm talking about it, is the answer to that. So yes, bot lane is easier to gank, and yes, it still is dragon control, but then there's these Void grubs that you still would like. So the first Rift Herald is gone. There's no longer 2 of them. There's 1. And instead of the first Rift Herald, we have Void grubs or Void mites, whatever the hell. Basically, it would not be surprising if both top lane and jungle and maybe even mid start fighting for these fairly early. And the idea of these is when you kill them, you actually just get yourself a buff that makes yourself do more damage to towers. So instead of a Rift Herald and being, you know, let's say not interactive gameplay, kind of inactive gameplay, that how many of you have played top lane, you're doing well in your own lane, the enemy jungler takes Void or whatever, runs top lane and just puts Herald on your tower, and you're like, well, my tower's dead and I can't do anything about that. Yeah, that's really lame. And that's what Riot's trying to address in the early game, is you can't do that anymore. For you to use the Void Grub buff, it's you yourself having to attack towers. You can't just, as a jungler, pop it in top lane and run away and you still get 2-3 plates, you know? So that's good. So yeah, they spawn 5 minutes into the game. They spawn Void Mites every 12 seconds while in combat. So yeah, basically, in essence, it's a bit of a mini game, bit of a fun fight, and it's hopefully a more interactive thing that's in top lane that will make it so bot lane isn't just the primary place to go. So the Void Grubs despawn at 13:45 in game, and they make their way for Rift Herald. So at 14 minutes, Rift Herald spawns. So there's all the information there. And again, does it give you where's the buff? Whatever. There's a buff that basically is... Oh, there you go. Here it is. Killing 1 Void Grub grants the player and allied teammates 1 stack of the Hunger of the Void buff, which causes your non-proc attacks to deal bonus true damage to structures over 4 seconds. This damage will scale with the number of Void Grubs slain at a rate of 4 for melee or 3 for ranged true damage every 0.5 seconds per stack. So that is what it is. It's true damage to structures, but you need more buffs and stacks. So there's all that. So revamped Rift Herald very quickly. It's very similar to the last one, but obviously there's only 1 Rift Herald now, spawning at 14 minutes. So the window is obviously Void Grubs spawn, I think, at 5 minutes, and they despawn around 14, and then at 14 minutes, the Rift Herald comes in, and until 20 minutes when Baron comes in. The only massive change to Rift Herald is they again are trying to get rid of the complete AFK nature of it. So when you spawn Rift Herald now, you can just let it do its own thing, but it isn't as effective. If you yourself jump on top of Rift Herald, you then control it like a Scion ultimate, and if you control it into a structure, it does more damage. So you're risking yourself more because you yourself are having to go into combat, let's say, but you're being rewarded because it does more damage. But, you know, if the tower's really low and that's all you're after, you don't have to jump on her. You know, that's the thing. So that's massively the biggest change for this. So there's that. That's my TFT game finishing. I came 8th. We now have the Void change to the map. So when Baron spawns at 20 minutes, the map becomes Void. So again, it's not crazy changes, but basically the buffs become Void-like. And if I'm not mistaken of how it works, so jungle buffs, initially just the jungler or whoever kills the buff gets the buff. So let's say in the early game, the jungle kills blue buff, just the jungler gets it. Then the next phase for a blue buff is similar to what we've just had, is the jungler always gets it, and then one other person can get it. You know, either if, you know, the mid laner walks into that big ring, they get blue, or if the mid laner kills the blue, then the jungler can go walk over and pick it up. And then eventually it mutates into Void, and then everybody gets the buff, if I'm not mistaken. So eventually it's more just global, that everyone gets red, everyone gets blue. So that I don't think it's a necessarily bad thing. But yeah. So upon death, Draconic, Sentinel, and Brambleback will give the champions that slayed them versions of their respective buffs some change, and drop a duplicate. So that's that. And then this one is starting at 20 minutes. So when Baron spawns, the Void map, once slain, the Draconic, Brambleback, and Sentinel, so blue and red buff, will spawn as their Voidborn counterparts. And then I guess everybody gets the buff after that. I don't know. We've also then got 3 types of Baron. So Hunting Baron, All-Seeing Baron, Territorial Baron. Some, you know, they do different types of damage, tankier. Some do more magic. Some are quite actually dangerous. And they also change, obviously, the terrain around the Baron. So that's pretty much standard. Standard Baron is like Hunting Baron. Then we've got Territorial Baron. It adds a little bit of structure before. Yeah, Hunting Baron, the default does a lot of damage, by the way. So yeah, a bit of structure in a way. Is it, or is it 15%? Is that what Hunting Baron does? So yeah, Hunting Baron is the Pillar of Lightning, by the way. All-Seeing Baron summons rifts towards the 2 furthest enemies that he can see within 2,200 units, and that deals magic damage to them. And then Territorial Baron is grabs everybody in a cone and pulls them in. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, but in essence, they're all slightly different. This is obviously, I would say, the most different is the All-Seeing one, because that really changes the terrain around Baron. But I actually am a big fan of this, because ultimately we've always just had, you know, in the last few years, Dragon is the biggest change, and that's about it. And then the map changes with Infernal Dragon. Baron historically has always been like the big boss on the Summoner's Rift map, and it's been more about dragons than Baron. So giving Baron a bit of a revamp, I actually think is really cool. So I'm all for this. I think it's really awesome. So terrain changes. So top side, again, they basically, in essence, what they've tried to do, and it's nearly impossible to do fully, but they're trying to make it more fair between red side and blue side. So you can see top lane has slightly changed. There's no bush here anymore. There's just 1 pixel bush in the river. Harder for junglers to go top lane now, because there isn't this bush that you can walk the whole way into lane. There's more protection with this terrain being bigger. It's harder to basically gank top lane, in essence. So yeah, top lane obviously is quite an island lane, split pushing heavy. I don't think that's going to change massively in the new season. Mid lane is the one that they've tried to protect the most, because again, immobile mages in solo queue have been really boring. and anti-fun for quite a long time. And Riot, 6 months ago said we're going to address it in the upcoming season, and they have. So in mid lane specifically, they basically have eliminated one complete gank path. So this gank path, obviously near the river, there used to be a path here and a path here directly into the mid that wasn't right near the tower. Well, now this path has been moved basically from here. It's been moved to here. A jungler cannot go this way in the early game to gank anymore because that's directly into the tower. They can't do that. That'll be in tower range. So they've eliminated one gank path in the early game. So that's good for mobile mids. And then also the river, you can see here, the bush is set more into the river. And what that means is if, let's say, you ward this bush as a mid laner and you see the junglers coming, it gives you one more time to react. But also, the moment that that jungle leaves the bush, they're exposed. Like, it gives you more time to be like, oh, the jungler's coming, and it gives you more time to run away. So realistically, the major gank path for mid lane now is going to be from this direction and this direction. And obviously, Ethan Gem, thanks for the 45 months tier 1. Obviously, as a mid laner myself, prioritize having that warded. It's going to be very common to have a ward here and a ward here, which is already fairly common to have that anyway, but that's going to be quite a priority ward. Because that is basically the only massive gank path. And yes, that does technically buff stealth junglers. Stealth junglers can still obviously gank no matter where, but there's not many stealth junglers. So this, to me, is very good. Very good. And then bot side, well, bot side is basically the opposite of everybody else, top and mid. In top and mid, they've gone to make it harder for junglers to gank because junglers have had such an apparent presence in the last few years. But the other lane that's had the most presence, other than jungle or role, you could say, is bot lane. Typically, in the last 1 to 2 years, the whole game has been about jungle and bot. So what Riot are doing is they're nerfing jungle in a few aspects. It's harder to gank mid, it's harder to gank top, but they've actually made it easier to gank bot. So they've opened, so in mid lane where they've opened up, or they've closed gank paths off, yeah, they've opened up gank paths in bot lane. This gank path from a jungler going down to river here, that didn't exist. There wasn't an opening here. And by the way, the range of this tower, a jungler can hug this wall and not get hit by this tower. So that opens up a whole new gank path. And again, why did they do this? It's to make it as symmetrical as possible. The advantage that the bot side who had this side, they had protection over here. And like it was harder, like they had a lot of nice protection. This, or other way around, they were easy to gank in theory because they obviously had this opening here, or they've always had it, but there wasn't an equivalent opening on the other side. So it's trying to make it symmetrical as much as they can. Again, there is no big bush down here. That is, again, one small pixel bush here. But yeah, I ultimately think, and obviously, yes, I'm not a bot lane main. Support, you could say, is my secondary role sometimes, but I think this is a good change. I actually think this is quite healthy. Bot lane has been so powerful for so long, and jungle. So I think calming those roles down by affecting both of them kind of together, I think is actually quite smart. And that's actually quite a nice, logical way of doing it. So yeah, pretty good. Jungle itself, again, there's basically just all different terrain, new bushes, new walls all over the map, different entrances. And again, when it comes to mid lane, it is worth knowing there from this entrance here, or like this entrance here, or either direction, you now from mid can get either to top lane or to bot lane within your own territory completely. And what that means, and by the way, not in like a long way. So like before, if you were in mid, you could get to bot lane in your own territory, but you'd have to go like this way and then the whole way up around blue. Yeah, there's now a cut through that they've opened up that's here. So like here's mid, you come down, this is still your own territory, and you can make your way, this bush here is here. So you can stay within your own territory, which is good for roaming. That's strong for cat arenas and stuff. But what that actually is better for is in mobile mages. Because in essence, in mobile mages, could not roam. You could not follow a Katarina or a Zed or a Fizz because you'd always having to be, expose yourself in either neutral territory or river, or you'd have to take such a long route you'd never get there in time. But now you can be safe roaming to bot lane in your own territory. It opens up immobile mid laners to actually play, you could say, the modern game. So that's actually really nice. It's still going to be mainly good for roaming champions, by the way. It just means immobile mages can do it. So that's good. The heck? Infernal terrain changes. So just Infernal, by the way, is being changed. And there's a new mini game just for Infernal. I would guess because Infernal is the most kind of fun dragon. So when Infernal dragon is happening or Infernal map is happening, it spawns Infernal cinders. You want to try and pick those up. They're like feathers, basically. You want to pick as many up as you can, and they grant stacks. My, don't rock the bed. Come on. Yeah, so basically pick them up. And then when people die, they drop their cinders. So you want to pick up those. And basically, they grant ability haste per stack. So, not bad. And again, the reason why they're doing this, by the way, because they quite like all the terrain changes they've done. Infernal Rift was the only one that destroyed walls more than all of them. It no longer changes the map that much. That's why they've got this new mini game with Infernal Soul. So the only champion to receive a change, literally in balance, or, well, two. But yeah, Hwei is the only one that's had, like, a direct buff. And it's just an armor buff. It's that simple. Because, again, he is very squishy, to be fair. Settle down, my. And then Vel'Koz, E-quality of life adjustment. So this is the nice change to Vel'Koz, that if your E is right next to you, it should happen very quickly. And if it's far away from you, it's basically what it used to be. It really sucked for Vel'Koz casting his E next to him. It would actually be quite a long cast time. The logic didn't make sense. So that's actually quite a nice change. Jungle damage adjustments. So champion bonus damage to non-epic monsters used to be 42%. It's going down to 25%. So again, with the Summoner's Rift map making ganking generally more difficult, we want to make sure that champions who relied on ganking now have a strong fallback pattern of farming jungle camps. We're adjusting the damage contribution of pets in order to close the gap between very fast clearers like Graves or Karthus and slower clears pretty much every tank. So yes, champions do less damage individually, but they're basically buffing, pet damage. So they're trying to bring up champions are less doing the damage and your pet's helping you more. Again, closing that gap between, like they say, fast jungle clearers and not. So that's quite a smart change in a way. All right, you settle down, Miss Maya. Again, hopefully she's going to be good today. So again, all the item updates. I can't go through every item update, obviously. I have heard, like, this item, Maligence, or whatever you pronounce it, I've heard this is quite a strong item. I've heard there's individually some pretty damn spicy items, so it'll be interesting to see what they're like. I've heard through the grapevine, because I've not played on the PB a lot, like, I've heard Anivia's not great, which sucks, but it is what it is. By the way, for those that are like, what's my goal, or what my plan? I've not done a champion pool video. My plan is just to play overpowered champions. At least to the first few weeks of the season. I just want to climb as quick as possible, get out of the absolute fiesta ranks of like Emerald and low diamond, get to high diamond, and then start having a proper champion pool. That's my goal. As for roles, I'm planning on playing mid and jungle, probably the most. Maybe a bit of other roles when I'm just simply a little bit bored. But yeah. So yeah, I'm not going to go through every item, but I have heard individual items are quite strong. So, yeah. It is quite cool Haunting Guys is back, though. I'm quite happy about that. But today's going to be a learning experience for me because I don't know the builds. So I'm going to be realistically learning at the same time and reading items. I know the vague, obviously, understanding of some of the items, but I will be reading them. So, like, for a mage, what do you rush now? You know, it's going to be stuff like that I'm going to be having to work out on the job. But that actually, for me, is quite fun. You know, I've played this game for such a long time and we get such a big change that it's like, oh, I get to, like, learn the game again. I think that's kind of cool. Obviously, TLDR for mages specifically, they've massively reduced health on items. So mages will be doing more damage, but they'll be squishier. So the two classes I've heard are quite strong with all the changes. Mages I've heard are quite good, and also tanks. I've heard tanks are very overpowered right now. So we'll see. So there's that. Hullbreaker, obviously an item that everyone wishes was deleted. It's been changed. It's still going to be obnoxious, obviously, but it's not as obnoxious as what it used to be. But it should just get deleted, to be honest. But yeah, some annoying items are gone. The most annoying item that I think most people will be happy that's officially gone, Dustbladed Drakthar is gone. So very annoying item. That one's bye-bye. So that's good. So yeah, not bad at all. But we'll experiment basically as we go. Oh yeah, stopwatch is gone-ish. So stopwatch is no longer a rune, and it's no longer a purchasable item, but it's not gone. So Zhonya's are still in the game with the exact same effect, the stasis, and you can buy a version of stopwatch. It's just Seeker's arm guard has been changed, and the Zhonya's stasis is in Seeker's arm guard now. So it's double the price, like where, you know, stopwatch was what, 650 gold? I think Seeker's to buy, you know, used to be 1100 gold. They've made it more expensive, but I think it's like 1300, but includes the stasis. Bruisers seem to be gutted. Bruisers have been stupidly overpowered for a while though, so hopefully they're a bit less obnoxious. Again, I think that's what people are just ultimately wanting, a bit of a change to the game, because it's basically felt the same in the last year or two. Assassins are strong, bruisers are really strong, AD carries are really strong. That's basically been League in a nutshell for the past year. But hopefully, mages might have their time, tanks might have their time. So hopefully, it'll be a bit of a different feel of a game, which would be nice. Because, like, again, genuinely, it's the game has felt the same for the past year or so. Yeah, a lot of new items. Heartsteel, I will say I am surprised Heartsteel survived. Heartsteel is a very, very frustrating item. But obviously, it's not as strong as it used to be in ways because, you know, mythics are gone. But yeah, I'm surprised Heartsteel survived because people find that item very annoying. But yeah, a lot of items obviously you recognize, but there are obviously new items as well. So yeah, assassin items and all that. Pladio, thank you much, dude. 20 months from Prime says still streaming, well done. Thank you. Brutalizer's back, by the way, and an old item that old League of Legends players will remember quite heavily. Riven is probably licking her lips about that item. It's like literally the most perfect Riven item I've ever seen. All right, any other changes other than items, or are we kind of done? Support items. Oh yeah, supports you now just all buy, I think, the same item. You all buy World Atlas, and then World Atlas goes into all the different support items that you might want, by the way. Which is fair enough. And all of them have kind of like a bigger use. So like there's a sleigh in one of the support items. So like the support items are a little bit more crazy. Basically just to give supports more to do. So that's cool. Ornn items, it is worth knowing. So if you've got an Ornn in your game, always have the item that you would want upgraded from an Ornn in item slot 1. That's actually how it used to use, but obviously Ornn used to upgrade mythics. Mythics are no longer a thing. So yeah, if you want, like, if you're an AD carry and you're like, I want my Infinity Edge to be upgraded, put it in item slot 1, genuinely. You don't want, like, something not great being upgraded. And basically, there is a list of eligible items. Some of them aren't eligible to be upgraded. So let's say in slot 1, it's not an item that's going to be Ornn upgraded. It will then look for slot 2, then slot 3, then slot 4, until it finds one that is eligible. We got a new rune. So the perfect timing rune has been removed and replaced with triple tonic. So at level, so perfect timing. Which was perfect timing? Was that stopwatch? I think that was stopwatch. So level 3, gain an Elixir of Avarice. Elixir of Avarice is on use. Gain 5 true damage on hit against minions for 60 seconds. At the end of effect, gain 40 gold. So that's quite good for me, actually, for last dating. At level 6, gain an Elixir of Force. So Elixir of Force is gained a 20 adaptive force for 60 seconds. So just before a dragon fight or something, boom, you just get a little bit of a bit of a boost. And then level 9, an Elixir of Skill is on use, gain a skill point. Wow, that's cool. Whoa, Casa Din is going to like that. Wow. So, okay, maybe not. So this does not grant a level or modify the rules around adding skill points and abilities. Oh, so all this does is let you get another point in a skill. It doesn't level you up or anything. Okay, that is weird, actually. So when you hit level 18, you'll have nothing to level because you'll be done. That's weird. Yeah, and QWE only. That's quite odd. Tower adjustments. Towers have been a more fragile end for a while now, but with the addition of more tower damage coming from the Void Grubs, they're buffing them up. So yeah, basically towers, which I think is a good thing, are going to be tankier on average. That's good. Ranked changes. So this is quite big things. So narrowing Emerald tier. So they put too many players in Emerald tier last year, so they are narrowing it, which I think is probably a good thing. Visible rank differences, so that again they are making sure that like platinum players aren't in games with silver players, and that was happening quite often last year. They're getting rid of that. Modified LP gain, so the LP increase to plus minus 25 per game we introduced last year has done a good job of helping players move up or down a division within a session, but we're currently happy with how quick things are going. But that being said, we learnt the amount of LP isn't sustainable in tiers Emerald and above, where the breadth of skill is higher. Due to this, LP gains at Emerald tier and above have been decreased to roughly plus minus 20 LP per game. So there you go. So if you're Emerald and above, which obviously I am, they're basically, the swings are way too big in Emerald and above, so they're actually reducing the average LP gain to plus minus 20. This was something that I called for about a month ago. Literally, like, you can go back and probably find the video. I literally called for that, so that's really good. What does it mean by narrowing? Less people in Emerald. So let's say 10% of the, or 15% of the player base was in Emerald. They're shrinking how many people are in Emerald. And the way they'll do that, they won't make people go up, they'll make people go down. So basically, they're making it harder to get Emerald, which I think is a good thing. And then new player placements. This, again, is also quite a big thing. So we've updated how new players are placed in ranked, which should give them appropriate skills. So the average, and this is why new accounts last year were so powerful. A new account last year, an average player, who like a gold player, would randomly get above gold in placements, even though they are a gold player. They shouldn't get above gold on a fresh account. It's just fresh accounts are so overpowered. They're still going to be strong, like fresh accounts are fresh accounts, but it should be a bit more accurate. So if you deserve to be like Emerald straight away on a fresh account, it'll give you it. But the average player who was buying, you know, a $2 Riot account got higher rating than they should have from placements. They're trying to put an end to that, which is good. We've got the new fist bump. So yeah, you can do a fist bump with your team, which is interesting. The default keybind for it is you. Interesting. Dynamic music is coming to League of Legends. That's obviously from TFT. In-game quests, golden ratio. Oh, that's a new quest between Hwei and Jin. Cool. You've also got Fishing for Lavender Sea, a new quest, Belveth and Jax. So these are the quests that like occasionally champions have against each other. So like the Freljordian sisters have one, Ash, Lysandra, and Sedge, I think. They've got a quest to get the crown. Rengar and Kha'Zix at level 16 have a quest. Like, it's just a fun thing. They're nothing major, but they're just quite fun. Nasus and Renekton's getting one. Shen and Zed are getting one. So there we go. So season start career stat reset. Due to the start of the new ranked season 2024 season, split 1 career stats will be reset. This is good. It is worth saying, somehow last year, some people may remember, our stats didn't reset. Riot just didn't reset stats. So they're actually properly resetting, which is nice. And there's all like challenges and stuff that you can get. Game spectator. So there is now TFT spectator and arena spectator. Obviously, arena's gone away. It'll be back in a few months. Mythic shop, and there we go. A lot of quality life, and then we are getting some dragon monster skins apparently. But there we go. So the start of the season, it is just gone over 12. So it is the start of the new season. So if I click this, it still says Diamond 2. That is weird. But we're going to get into the game 1 in a second. I might re-log my client just to make sure it's all okay. But anyway, that's going to be it. That is the new patch. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the new season. Hopefully you'll enjoy the placements. I'm nervous as I always am. Like, I genuinely am the most nervous from game 1. Because after game 1, when you get your starting rank, it calms you down when you know where that is. Like, luckily I'm Diamond 2. If I finish game 1, and let's say I win it, and it's like, oh, okay, you got Diamond 4 after game 1. You're like, oh, that ain't bad. And you just play the rest of the games. But anyway, that's going to be it. Enjoy the patch notes, or hopefully you enjoyed them. Enjoy the new season. I'm excited about it. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to